I'm back! Did you miss me? Hopefully you didn't. Welcome to the Jack Reviews Musicals Year in Review for 2025. I waited a long time to do the 2025 year in review, partially because I wanted to wait for this Etsy order of my custom-made Stay Salty sweater, in protest of the fact that America is becoming an authoritarian police state and it can't be stopped. A depressing thought, but I'm not here to moan and complain. No, this video is all about honoring what I think are the highlights of 2025. I'm celebrating the year that was to welcome the year that is. Starting with what I believe are the top 10 best musicals that I reviewed in 2025. I say the best, but they're really more my favorites, and it was really hard for me to come up with a list this year because I saw 23 unique musicals in 2025, and a lot of them ranged between being good and mediocre, and between being mindless fun and deeply profound. If you like or hate any of the shows that I put on the list, or are shocked that I omitted from the list musicals that you thought were great, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just putting out there my own personal favorites. Going in chronological order, past Jack, take it away. Watching New Jewish Theater's Cabaret really is a sublime experience. One of the most powerful musical theater experiences I have ever seen. And I'm not gonna lie, part of that may be because this show is playing at a Jewish community center, where a good chunk of the audience is Jewish. So it definitely makes this show feel a lot more emotionally raw, honest, and even dangerous, given the times that we're living in right now. And I really live for musical theater productions like this. The kind that feel like they are having a conversation with our world, with our own lives, our own existence. This is the kind of theater that leaves you thinking about the world differently than when you found it. Cabaret hurts to watch, and it's even alienating a lot of the time. But the risk of seeing a piece of theater, a piece of art that confronts you with harsh, uncomfortable truths is a lot better than the alternative. If you couldn't tell, this is a show that I connect with on a pretty deep personal level. I don't care if it's clunky. I don't care if it has flaws. The stuff in Rent that's good is really good. The songs, outstanding. The story, timeless. The characters, memorable. And the themes, layered beyond belief. You can definitely see why it gave way to a whole new generation of musical theater fans and artists. And you feel that in New Line Theater's production. And come to think of it, literally everything about New Line Theater's production, even the elements that were discovered completely by accident at the last minute, feel like this amazing cosmic convergence. It can't be duplicated. It's an incredibly unique production. And I am very happy that this is New Line Theater's 100th production. Come From Away is about this horrifying time in the history of North America. And as short as it was, we are still reeling from the effects of it, even after almost 25 years after the fact. None of the realities of 9/11 are glossed over in this show at all, even with its 100-minute runtime. But Come From Away is also a story about the importance of genuine human connection, of empathy, of how rewarding it is to see eye to eye with a person, and how to help them in their hour of need, or days of need even. Come From Away is a beautiful show, and the Muni's production of it was proof positive that it can be done on any scale, large and small, and the effectiveness will still be the exact same. Evita really is a masterwork of musical theater, and the Muni treats it that way, giving a production that is very different from others that I've seen, because they're considerably lighter ones that treat it more like a performance, and less like a character study of a very specific time and place, which I think the Muni takes that road. It's probably the most authentically Argentinian I have seen Evita, and I have to admire everyone involved with the Muni's production for sticking to their guns, giving the audience something entirely new, something that they are going to look back on. Dare I say it, even a standard upon which future productions of Evita are judged.
When did such abiding love begin?
I cannot fix the hour, or the spot, or the look. I was in the middle before I knew that I had begun.
So overall, I would say Austin's Pride is very close to perfection. I think after it completes its national tryout period, Lindsay Warren Baker and Amanda Jacobs will have gotten everything they needed to make the show ready for New York. I still think this show could have been better if Austin was a bit more domineering during Act 1, so that in Act 2 she could slowly let the characters take center stage, which is what I think they were trying to do in Act 2 already. Austin's Pride could be a contender in the canon of musicals about artists making art. As is, I was very impressed by Austin's Pride, and I am very much looking forward to seeing how its jump to Broadway follows through on its already evident promise. I would honestly recommend women of any demographic to check out Madam. I will warn you though, this is not a show for everyone. This is a tight quarters, in your face kind of show, with an emotional intensity that you get up close and personal with. It's a rough around the edges show, but it was written that way, and it deserves an intimate production with powerful performances and a killer soundtrack. And Fly North gave us just that. Everything about the Muni's production of Dear Evan Hansen works. Dear Evan Hansen is a deeply important musical, and it's one that has forced me personally to carry its weight of the issues that it explored. It forces people to carry that weight, especially because Stephen Levinson was really clever in not giving any of the characters easy outs. This is the kind of musical that asks more hard questions than giving really any satisfying answers. And chief among these hard questions is it better to be confronted with difficult truths than to hide behind comforting lies? Another vital thing that Dear Evan Hansen leaves with us, and it's something that's really important to me, is that genuinely connecting with people, whether it's finding a family, making friends, or just in general learning how to not be a lonely person, is actually really hard. This year, the World Health Organization listed loneliness as a threat to public health. And with the amount of homicides, suicides, and violent crimes happening in the world that are attributed to loneliness, I think having access to art that acknowledges how exhausting it is and how scary it is to not know how to connect with other people is legitimately an emergency. I was a gay man who was in the closet for way too long, and I am also an autistic man who spent my early years as a heavily sheltered introvert. So because of that, watching the Muni's Dear Evan Hansen has been a very validating experience for me. This is one of the most brilliant examples that I have seen of a theater company taking a musical that I originally did not think highly of and presenting it with such honesty, such integrity, such respect that it completely changed my opinion of it for the better. Profoundly, significantly better. That is rare. And the fact that the Muni achieved that with Dear Evan Hansen, one of the most polarizing musicals that I have ever encountered, this is a paradigm shift. This is one of the most outstanding musicals that I have ever had to review in the 4 years that I've been doing Jack Reviews musicals. And probably one of the very best that I will have ever seen in my lifetime. Stage of St. Louis's production of Beautiful, the Carole King musical, really is one of the very best productions I've reviewed for Jack Reviews musicals. Every single aspect of this works. It's cohesive, it's tight, it's alive and flowing. Everyone, both on stage and off, really gave their all. They respected and served this story about this really incredible woman and her family, her friends, her philosophy, her music, and how it all ties together into one of the most important periods in pop music history. Seeing this production cemented for me how much Beautiful is a masterwork in the musical theater canon. The best biographical jukebox musical I've ever seen. Stage of St. Louis, I got a prediction for you. You're going all the way. New Line Theater's production of Bat Boy the Musical is one of the best pieces of experimental musical theater I've seen in years. There was such an obvious respect and reverence for this material from everyone involved, where they really put all of their talent into it to make this story so funny and so smart. And it's such an important story for New Line to share when they did. With its commentary on scapegoating and bigotry, the duality of man, I am honestly pitifully embarrassed that I let my personal life get so much in the way of getting my review out while the show was still running. But you know what I'm especially embarrassed for? The musical theater community at large. Because even though Bat Boy is a cult horror musical, it has nowhere near the same amount of attention as something like Rocky Horror or Heathers. And folks, after seeing New Line's brilliant production, I need to say, we gotta turn this around. Like I said in the middle of the review, find the script, listen to the score, watch a taping of a production on YouTube if you have to. Hell, watch Mickey Joe Boucher's review of the Encores concert. You can hear him gush about how brilliant this show was just as much as I am right now. Bad Boy really needs more attention. Like, why is nobody looking at this? For a show like this to take a parody tabloid journal and musicalize it into this serious tragedy with a diverse, multi-genred score of great songs, a host of hilarious characters, and plenty of gore, violence, and all-around insanity, makes Bat Boy a musical deserving of as much respect as the top-tier, absolute best musical comedies. New Line's Bat Boy easily ranks in my top 10 best musicals I've seen this year. This little show that could was a billion gajillion times better than some of the actual Broadway caliber musicals that I've had to sit through this year. New Line Theater created something really special with this. I sincerely hope that my glowing praise of their production will make up for the long stretch of time that it has taken me to get my thoughts out in the ether. Thankfully, their next production, in which the timeliness of my review is guaranteed, will be just as experimental and even more weird, and I cannot wait. Tesseract Theater's production of Legally Blonde is one of the most easily lovable musical theater productions I've seen this year. The vision is creative, the staging is smart, the acting and the visual style of these iconic characters are lively. The score, which has practically been memed to death, is delivered with the exact same affection and attention that made it popular in the first place. Tesseract took something that I'm initially viewed as a cute young adult musical with good music, and treated it with the same insight, maturity, and creativity that they do with all of their shows. This is proof that this company is only going to get better and better at creating large, epic stories in small theaters like this. And so far, Legally Blonde has been the culmination of everything Tesseract has learned about musical theater production. Both the stumbles that they have since improved upon, and the triumphs that they've really cultivated. And one thing that Tesseract, I think, really finds success with is getting to the heart of the kind of theater that young adults need to see right now. And Legally Blonde's positive message of acceptance is one that people need to find comfort in. And I think that was taken so seriously at Tesseract. I can see this production being a comfort show for some people. It certainly was for me. Tesseract's Legally Blonde was a really nice bit of holiday cheer that I think everyone will love. What, like it's hard? Thanks, Past Jack. Now for the next section, announcing the inductees for the 2025 Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame highlights St. Louis theater artists whose work I have reviewed over and over again, and it is consistently high quality stuff. These are the people that put St. Louis theater on the map, making St. Louis a destination city for locally produced musical theater, starting with Chris Moore, the Associate Artistic Director of New Line Theater, and the co-director of every New Line production since Green Day's American Idiot, and has done acting roles in the form of Tom Collins in New Line's Rent, performing possibly the most heart-rending interpretation of the I'll Cover You reprise I've ever seen, and providing his voice in the adult chorus in Stray Dogs: The Second Hurricane. He will also be the co-directors for New Line's upcoming productions of Promenade and We Will Rock You. Next inductee is another man of many hats, Bradley Rolfe, the co-founder and managing director of Fly North Theatricals, and the co-owner of Fly North's permanent home, the Green Finch Theater and Dive. In 2024, Rolfe was the director of Fly North's Big Machine. Before that, all the way back in the blog days, he was the award-winning director of Fly North's Assassins. Rolfe is also a master lighting designer, designing the lights for Fly North's productions of Little Miss Sunshine, Madam, and New Line's production of Batboy. In November of last year, Fly North produced a vanity concert of Stephen Sondheim's company to celebrate Rolfe's 35th birthday by having him play Bobby. Next inductee is John Gerdes, a musical director and pit musician, a very rare breed in the Hall of Fame that I want to induct more of in future years. He was the musical director for Green Day's American Idiot on the bass of all instruments, and the conductor of Stray Dogs: The Second Hurricane. And he has played in the pit for way too many productions to count. On the bass, the brass, the reeds, and he performs alongside his family, his wife Leah, and their son Xander. Next is Rafael DaCosta. Ever since he made his debut as Renfield in New Line Theater's Dracula in 2024, he has become one of my favorite local actors. Tunney in American Idiot, Brad Majors in Rocky Horror, and Edgar the Batboy. His raw tenacity, balanced with a great deal of restraint, makes him an incredibly compelling presence on stage. Another great stage presence, Kimmy Kidd. From Lily in Tesseract's Anastasia to Eliza Haycraft in Fly North's Madam, and Joanne in Fly North's Vanity Concert of Company, Kimmy Kidd has the elegance and the vivaciousness that perfectly evokes the great Broadway divas. And future diva in the making is the final inductee, Adrian Spann, whose passionate performance as Billy in Madam pushed her over the top to become a talent to be reckoned with. Congratulations to all of the human inductees into the Jag Reviews Musicals Hall of Fame for 2025. I say human because I want to do something a little bit different starting this year. I want to induct a non-human category in the Hall of Fame. A song, a prop, or what is most likely going to be the case, definitely for this first year I'm doing this, a theme. or an abstract concept. If you've been keeping up with my personal life, you probably know at the start of 2025, my sister became a mom for the first time. She brought into this world a beautiful, bouncing baby boy, and me becoming his uncle is probably one of the best things to ever happen to me. But then, late in the year, was one of the worst things to happen to me. My mother passed away from cardiac arrest at the age of 55. So, from the year that I both lost my mother and saw my sister become a mother, I decided that the non-human category for the Hall of Fame would be the theme of parenthood. So many of the musicals that I reviewed in 2025 were stories that were either about parents learning that their children are people, not props, or stories about people, young people in particular, recognizing that their parents are humans, not gods. Little Miss Sunshine is about a father learning to come to terms with his daughter not fitting the mold of his expectations of her. Dear Evan Hansen is about a young man coming to terms with his mother, and how she doesn't necessarily fit his expectations of her, but learning to be okay with that, but not before he inserts himself into another family so that he himself could try to craft the perfect vision of the ideal family that he never had. God, Dear Evan Hansen is a heady show. Austen's Pride, being an adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, shows Mr. and Mrs. Bennet on totally opposite sides of the parenting spectrum. One who values their children as people, and one who only sees children as props to get them on the come-up. Madam is about a found family and how the sisterhood of said family recognize that their matriarch is mortal, and the best that they can do is just pass on her memory to the next generation. The Second Hurricane is about a group of young people learning the hard way that their parents aren't gonna do everything for them. They have to be self-sufficient and independent. Beautiful shows the deteriorating of a marriage between two parents and how it poetically fits in with the marital problems of both of their families. Bad Boy and Superhero are both musicals about how you become so close with someone that you let them into your family, and how they can be both a blessing and a curse. La Cage aux Folles and Raisin are about parents and children with conflicting values who learn by the end that in order to function, they need compromise. All of these lessons and more are things that we need to take with us going into 2026. We are living in borderline apocalyptic times right now, and it's our responsibility to showcase stories about parents and their families going through hard times so that we can reflect the truths that they have learned into our own lives, to make the chaos and confusion of the world in general a lot more bearable. I look forward to seeing what themes I can take away from 2026, and which one comes out on top in next year's Hall of Fame. What themes do you think should be up for consideration? What theater artists should I be on the lookout for? What were some of your favorite musicals that you saw in 2025 here in St. Louis? Whatever it is, whatever your thoughts are, whatever you think, comment below and let me know. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any more St. Louis musical theater reviews. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, long live the musical.